I don't know how many people are supposed to come, so it should be exciting.
Anybody who wants.
I know we just had a lot of turnover in at least the quote unquote leadership of MUG. So our group is pretty loosey goosey on management, and with Pat leaving, um, crap, I'm gonna screw up his name up. Tyler down in
Tyler Callum.
yeah, and Jennifer Tovar. Not that she was a host or anything, but basically, Kaylin and I are the only hosts left of the groups that have hosted or the cities that have hosted in the past that kind of become on the you help me get to decide the mug path group. So
Hmm.
it's pretty interesting. Everybody's going private or going county for some reason. I wonder what cities are doing wrong.
Money.
Money?
That's my
Money?
first guess.
Well, yeah, that's a reason to jump is more money, but
A lot of people just told me it was just something different.
hmm.
David, have the MUG lunch and learns been pretty well attended over the lunch hour?
Yeah, so we kind of skipped April, just didn't line up with schedule. So number 2 is going to be happening at the end of incorporated into the end here. So the first one we did is ArcGIS Hub, kind of the basics, and that recording is there as well as any information is available to whoever wants it on how to kind of set up Hub and what it is. And then phase 2 is going to be incorporated in a longer time in the end of the month here. And then we're going to get into like Lou from Sun Prairie. He's going to do his little spiel on lessons he learned setting it up and some do's and don'ts. And then we'll probably maybe have one more because there's a ton of stuff in there and how to do it. But and then we're kind of maybe run out. And I've had some other suggestions for additional lunch and learns like arcade. And I don't remember where the other one is off the top of my head, but those are going to kind of be ongoing series, I think, as members are asking for that type of stuff because we're running into the same issues of this arcade thing and hub and how do we get out our stuff and how do we share and arcade is more of your make pretty interesting labels and stuff and it's almost like creating a view in online from what I gather, but it's pretty powerful stuff. It's just if you don't need it or don't use it, you don't understand it, I guess. So should be good. Those are kind of the big things for MUG coming up is that. And we're going to be doing another just kind of a probably just lunch get together, like Zoom, just talk about issues and things like that. Although the forum that we have, the little MUG group email list is kind of taken off. It goes in spurts, but we got some good stuff going there. Otherwise, it's kind of how this stuff runs is we just kind of talk about municipal issues or how we interface with each other or upcoming technologies that we're investigating or things like that. So I am actually interested in, I see we got a couple counties on board and kind of what things are coming down the pipe there. And so if anybody's got some things that they're doing or whatever they want to share, that'd be good. Otherwise, this is going to be a real short segment.
Yeah, maybe we could go down the list and everyone could share an update of, as you say, what's coming down the pipeline. Maybe I could go first. I know there's been chatter and information trickling out about redistricting, and that's something fairly exciting. I think exciting is the word to use. Sorry, some animal background noise here. The cat insists on like being let in and out of the store like 100 times a day. But yeah, so I started working for Bayfield County in 2012 or 2013. So I missed the last cycle of redistricting, but I've always been interested, you know, like coming out of college, you work with the census data because that's all you really have to work with. So I've always been interested in it, and I'm, I guess, excited to see how it turns out and what the counties will do in Wisconsin as far as plowing ahead with it in 2021 or postponing to 2022 for redistricting. I'll admit, you know, I'm on a learning curve for how it's going to go, but I think it sounds interesting. We're doing a server migration, which has been a big internal project, and redirecting all of our external and internal, you know, services, layers, everything. So that coincided with a domain name change. So it's been a big adventure, but we're over the hump of it, I think. Yeah, and then I'll wrap it up here by saying we're migrating to the Parcel Fabric and Pro, ArcGIS Pro Parcel Fabric. So prepping our parcels, getting ready to, that's always kind of been a thing that it makes us keep one foot in ArcMap, or myself anyway. So it'll kind of, I'll still use ArcMap, I'm sure, but it'll be more pro once we make this jump. So that's all for me.
I can jump in. I was waiting for an actual municipal person to jump in, but I'll just go.
I'm the only one here, I think, actually.
Huh?
I'm the only one here.
Caitlin just joins. It looks like.
really?
So.
Okay.
Hi, Caitlin.
I did. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
No, we need more municipal people.
yeah, you and I are it for leadership.
Oh, boy.
Just in
All right.
time.
Yeah.
So in Waukesha County, we too are wondering what to do with redistricting and awaiting whatever that final plan is. We are also migrating to the Pro Parcel Fabric. We literally just had a meeting this week with Frank and Panda Consulting. To put a municipal spin on it, though, we have the extra added layer of 4 municipalities in our county that do their own parcel mapping. And we've always kind of tried to do that together as a group. And so this will be a new challenge. We're going to maybe try to bring all 5 fabrics back together as one and host it at the county level. But then because of the additional technology that Pro brings us with the branch versioning and stuff like that, we're hoping that we can set something up where they can come in and edit their own parcels within the one fabric. And then I don't have to bother them every 3 months, because we publish new parcels quarterly, to send me data. So that'll be nice for me, I guess. But hoping that will also create some other efficiencies as well. So we'll see what happens with that. We literally just kind of started exploring how this is all going to happen. So what else? We're just kind of digging out of COVID. We don't really do much with the dashboard anymore. We turned most of it off and said, go to the state now. So we don't have to do that giant daily update anymore. There's just a couple school district things we do, and that's it. So that'll probably be done at the end of the school year. And so we're kind of saying, okay, this big behemoth is off our back now. What were we doing before? Let's do that. So, yeah.
Related to COVID, though, what are people doing in relationship to the local government portion of the federal rescue bill? Are people starting to try to do something specifically to try to get into that money yet, or is it still too early to figure that out?
I've heard rumblings, but yeah, nothing specific.
I mean,
at all.
the early stuff was specifically they could get money to do things with water, broadband expansion, and there was one other thing I can't remember. So it was kind of targeted at what you could try to be working on with it too, I thought, but at least it's local government money.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard that. Like I said, I haven't heard anything specifically. I don't get out much anymore, so that might be my own failings rather than. It's hard to get gossip these days.
Well, there's,
So working from home a lot, so.
at least in Marshfield, my boss had just talked about how much money Marshfield will get and whatever for it and what they can do with it. And they're afraid that they're going to give it to the water department or water utility because they've been really piss poor managers of their system. So why would you want to reward that with, 1 point some million dollars?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
But, so what have you been up to, Gail?
Pretty much same old, same old. So in the context of just the facet of GPS for you guys that are all my clients, both at county and municipal levels. The thing it's not new, but it's continues to be a little more real as time goes by coming down the pike is anybody who is still using Windows embedded handheld equipment definitely needs to talk to whatever their powers that be are for a plan, because who knows when the last nail will go in the coffin and something they've been using will stop working. So we've had lots of people come on board with help from their GIS services at places like MSA and anybody who's doing GIS services, Symbiont or something like that. If if they've been working with municipalities, they've gotten a pretty good idea for people out there that they need to look at using probably a Bluetooth external receiver instead of a Windows embedded handheld. I just had just worked with Scooter at Oshkosh. Matt Lennox is the GIS guy there, but Scooter is in the electrical department or something that he just got off ArcPad. So I'm pretty busy with getting people their first one if they haven't had one, or one department got a Bluetooth unit, in the last year or two, and now somebody else wants one or something like that. So it's a pretty we're kind of at that tipping point where anything new, if you're looking at getting a piece of equipment, a Trimble piece of equipment, I don't even talk about Windows embedded handheld to people who've never been there before, because it's just on the end of its life cycle. So that's where I'm busy in the normal spring rush of people thinking about field season. So
Glad I sold my my personal Trimble Recon a couple years ago then.
yeah, they've been,
which I bought at the silent auction for the for the scholarship.
good for you. It's for the kids. Yeah, you can find lots of Windows embedded handheld GPS gear on eBay.
Gail, we are enjoying our new R2 system that we bought recently.
There's one of my people right there, Caitlin.
Yep. We are now up and running. I did that class with you guys. It was like
In March, late March.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. And that was so I could use it in so not collector, but what's the new app called? I forgot.
Field
map.
maps.
Field
yeah.
maps.
Yep.
Because it takes a little more integration because you have to use that Trimble mobile app as well. And I needed to like figure out how to do all that configuration. And so that's
Yeah.
all set up and going really well. It's pretty awesome. There's parts of town, I don't know if you guys know, but we're kind of like surrounded by bluffs. So
Yep.
a good part of the town I can when we have, our cellular hotspot connected to it, I can get 1 foot accuracy, without correcting anything. It's pretty awesome. So it's great. Super mobile for us and quick. So every time we have capital improvement projects coming through, we can just go quick collect it when the ground's open, get it done, and we don't have to wait till the end of the season when all the as-builds come in and then we're guessing and all that good stuff. So it's good. It's fast and there's no office work involved in the collection process. So our public works is really enjoying that aspect of it. And what's that?
I was going to ask David, did you guys move to field maps off of or the last version of Collector?
We're about to.
Okay.
After I get everything reprojected, after finding an awesome bug with the mosaics.
Ah.
As soon as everything's been reprojected, repushed up, then yeah, we're switching over.
We're kind of like in between. I have some maps that they're using Collector with and some that they're using field maps. Mostly what they all loved it for was, they're constantly taking screenshots and drawing things for me and then emailing them from their iPads. They're like, hey, can you fix this? So they like the drawing portion of field maps. They can just
Mark up.
mark it up and send it right from there. So that's what they like. But I noticed that it has a little bit more functionality too if you have some like dynamic joins going on. So sometimes in Collector, if you have a dynamic join on like a feature class and maybe a related table, and you have your symbology based on it, it won't refresh and like update the color, the symbology if you remove a value on something. You would have to like reopen Collector and then you would see that the symbology had changed. But in field maps, it updates it right away. It doesn't like require a refresh on the map. So that was nice because we use that all the time. Like they want to be seeing all the hydrants that they're flushing and the valves that they're turning, etc. And if there's been work done on something, and so they have everything highlighted that needs repair, after they've repaired it, they want that symbology to go away. But it's weird. It only works in one direction. Like you don't need a whole refresh to make it turn color, but to make the color go away, for some reason, Collector doesn't want to do that. You have to reopen the map. Reopen Collector completely, but that seemed to have gone away with field maps. So
I'm glad they got
all these like little
on that.
nuances, like these little, why is this not working?
Yeah, actually, I don't know what's going to be the solution, but one of the things that's a big thread in the Trimble community that came with field maps is the extra nuisance of having the login for Trimble Mobile Manager.
Oh yeah.
People hate that, obviously, and Trimble has gotten the message loud and clear that People hate that. So I don't know what they're going to do, but they are trying to figure out how to address that, because it is when it's just one more place for some piece of the puzzle to not work, and then people getting frustrated out in the field.
Yeah.
So I can't promise what's going to be a solution there, but know that people, the Trimble people have heard that having that extra login is complicating lives unnecessarily, and hopefully they'll figure out a way around it. But
Yeah. So why is that required?
I don't know. That's
They
what the
don't know.
question is. It's like,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
I used to use this all the time and I didn't have to have another login, and now I do. And
Mhm.
people who have offline functionality too, that's really throwing a wrench in them, because you have to be logged into, you can supposedly log into Trimble Mobile Manager and stay logged in on that device for like 30 days or something like that. And
Oh.
so people who have an offline workflow have had a few times where they lose their connection for some reason, and then they're not
Mhm.
able to log back in. So they have to like fire up a personal phone with a hotspot, or
Sure.
drive a half an hour to get to a place where they can get a
Oof.
connection or something like that. So Trimble knows it's an issue. So hopefully they'll work on a way to get around that. We'll see.
Mhm.
It is a pain.
That was the sole reason why I took the class, so that Jay could show me exactly how to configure.
But it came along with when Esri finally put Z values in, though. That's where that, and ultimately when they get to whatever the new world order is for being able to do post processing for someone who wants to do post processing in an area where they have work that they don't have live corrections. The whatever that platform is that's getting at the services on the Trimble side of it
Mhm.
for Z values, and the geoid is going to be the similar platform on which post processing will be done. Like for anybody who ever had Trimble positions and the post processing workflow that's supported there, you can do that now standalone on your desktop, and they're going to move that to the cloud. So there will be a time at which, again, we're talking probably at least a year from now, when there might be the ability to support post processing, and it's going to use that same connection to the cloud stuff that Trimble Mobile Manager gives for Z values now. So it's not going to go away, but they obviously, the first version out of the gate is never the best implementation, and you don't want to be
Right.
the earliest early adopter if you're not ready for some pain points.
Yep. That's why some of my maps are still using collector.
There you go. You're not the only one who's doing that too.
So are we looking to do, David, an in-person this year?
I don't know. That's, I was gonna make the announcement, and I'll probably still send it out, but Lou in Sun Prairie has offered to host this year.
Awesome.
Whether we do a virtual or we all actually get together in person, I don't know what the restrictions will be by then or who's comfortable doing what, but
Mhm.
if you come to Marshfield, it's pretty split. But you can go to Quick Trip and nobody cares, like it's life before everything. And
I think that's like at every Quick Trip.
if you go to Fleet Farm, but if you go to Menards where they enforce it,
Right.
like, so you can overnight see the parking lot shift from Menards to Fleet and things like that. So most restaurants don't care anymore. Bars obviously never cared. Um, most places I'd say are live and let die, I guess. So, well, it's kind of whatever people want to do. I guess we'll send out a poll here. I think we should have contingencies uh, based on, maybe we do like a hybrid, like love to see you in person if you want to be there, but you can also attend via Zoom or whatever, and we set up a webcam or something.
Yeah.
So I think it just complicates things, but we'll make it work.
We need to do more membership outreach because we've got a lot of people that went from city to county
Yeah,
that were
yep.
in MUGG before.
Yep, so that was actually one of the topics kind of brought up was you and I are the only ones left that have, in theory, hosted anything. And so you're on management now.
Management.
You're on management. That's how it works. Is you host something, you're on management. You get to vote, and
We have
direct.
votes?
Yeah, well,
Oh.
your vote is you tell me like yay or nay. That's a stupid idea or a great idea, and we bounce ideas off of them in a core group rather than sending out surveys all the time. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's going to become quite interesting because
You guys just need to do recruitment, I would
know.
think, and just reminding, well, if somebody left a community, hopefully there's somebody filling the role, reaching out there, and some of the others. I just making a list. You got some players in Brookfield. I meant the idea Jennifer should host something, and then you got Bloomer and Waukesha. So those two people that Kim could help with there. Obviously Madison's a player, but you're already talking about Sun Prairie, which has cut out this part of the recording, but within 3 blocks of the city building, you have 2 wine tasting rooms, 1 brewery, and 2 breweries.
See, that's why we have things on a Friday.
Yes.
And we're all done at like noon.
Yeah, and we were gonna have it up here in Onalaska last year, and it was gonna be during Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
And that was like so sad. COVID happened. I was so excited to take everybody to Oktoberfest here in La Crosse.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you're still on management and cycle back to you. So
You could have it on a Saturday. We could have a float.
Yeah.
Mug float.
there you go.
It's a big parade.
I mean, with a name like Mug, you got to do something.
Definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot of people dancing.
The tie in there is so obvious.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
We should all get mug shots.
Holding mugs,
Holding
wearing
mugs.
mug t-shirts.
Yes.
wow.
Well, a few printing companies.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know who the players are. I just made a quick list. I'm sure, like, as a whole group of people that have been involved with this for a while, we could find the cities to reach out to and just try to get a bit larger leadership team for you.
Yeah, and I could go through my list and just I plug the group all the time, and I could just do another blurb at my people too.
Yeah, you got to get Itram down so Carmen can harass Matt up in Ashland, and maybe bring some of the Superior folks. But those are 2 really active city GIS users. You got to get Dan and Matt down from Wausau. You got Point, Shawano, obviously La Crosse, Janesville. Get Kirby.
Not La Crosse.
No.
Not La Crosse. So the city of La Crosse only has a part-time GIS person. They still like run their whole city on CAD.
Jesus.
Yeah. Don't even get me started.
But they got you, so that's cool.
I'm on Alaska. So they were like, I don't know if you guys have ever watched the show Park and Rec. Anybody Park and Rec? So we're like Eagleton. And they're like Pawnee, right? Like that is like the relationship to Onalaska and La Crosse, and it's hilarious. Like the local news it just cracks me up. So it's just
I'll strike La Crosse. Eau Claire's got some GIS folks. You guys.
yes.
Yeah. So yeah, outreach is definitely on the docket here, just to make sure everybody's on the list. Esri's actually signed up a couple people for us on the list. So I don't know exactly who they are, but I'm gonna figure it out at some point and kind of reach out to them.
Holman and West Salem, they're just now building a GIS. I don't know if you guys know where there's small villages nearby. I've been kind of, I don't know, somewhat like being moral support and coaching them to I sent them, got their Esri rep to them, etc., whatever, but hopefully they'll be joining us eventually. They don't have designated GIS people yet, because there's just, I mean, they're totally in infancy, but they really want to move to it. So that hopefully will happen soon too.
You know, an interesting topic for the group would be, and it's one that I'm guessing there's 2 consultants on here, but I run into it regularly, and I'm sure counties run into it. Dave and I were talking about it last week. You get all these communities that want GIS or trying to pull out of CAD or, don't know where to go. But just doing a MUGG group for these communities that want to do GIS, but don't know how to get a budget for it or get a person or get software. And they keep relying on asking a vendor to do something, for free, or asking a county to do something for free. And Dave and I were talking about how in the world do you save all these creator accounts, even in AGO, that's still $500 per named user for the county that they don't have budget for.
Yep.
This is a huge conversation. I run into it all the time and try to help even my own engineers, at my company. And it's just like, I spend thousands of dollars writing business plans for these communities that didn't be like, nah, we don't have a budget. Thanks for that though. It's
Yes.
I don't know how to help those communities.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on with Holman and with Salem right now. They have engineering departments that want to get their stuff out of CAD and they want to move to GIS and they just don't even know where to start. And I gave them, information about MUGG and WLAA, and every once in a while I just reach out. I'm like, hey, how's it going? How's the GIS? And it's always the same old thing. And it kind of happened like right before COVID too. So like they were going to try to put it in the budget and then it just got slashed. So it's just like,
Yeah, sometimes I'm the first person that they'll reach out to too. I want to do a GIS and I know I'm going to need a GPS but like you said, no budget.
David, we should see if we could somehow come up with a grant to get a good GPS that we can rent out to new muggers.
Yeah, all right. Grant for GPS rent out. Sounds good. I will.
Did you actually write that down or did you just fake it?
No, I really did. I will just write that on my list right here.
I think you did.
Oh,
I think you
Well, yeah, obviously keep me in the loop there, David, because I'm sure Siler would come up with some sort of reduced cost on that as well, or pilot or something to make something like that happen so we can help those people that want to start get a picture of how it could happen.
Yeah, Gail, I hear you've got a lot of those Windows embedded based.
We can give those away for free.
Yeah, I have a boat that needs anchoring. Well, I guess I did something fun on Tuesday. Was our emergency operations drill, and we did it via Zoom this time. Not that we could not have done it all in the same room, but it was an interesting exercise, just kind of throwing that in there. And we learned a lot of limitations of Zoom and things like that. But one thing that I know that really helped was I created a dashboard, and I can show you guys if you want. So screen two. So you should be seeing a dashboard. So that stems out of I presented on it before, our common operating picture application that our fire department is really the one pushing, but now the police want it for their SWAT operations and things like that. So you can see in all the buildings that we've done and their floor plans. And then there's other information that populates through, but the widgets that are in there are actually pretty cool. So like the emergency response guide, you can play with that all you want, create those out, grab your parcels and stuff like this. So I was able to give, even in a compressed time of only 2 hours, I was able to give everybody what they would typically get within the first 8 hours in about 10 minutes.
Nice.
So the dashboard though was pretty cool because I got to this is all fed information from the live from the field, especially for the evacuations and then the shelter. And so what they found was really cool was they could start planning ahead as they saw the little ticker going up from the the evacuation collection site, and hey, where are we going to hit, and how many people have special needs. And I think my biggest takeaway is the fire department leadership is typically older and has been there for how many ever years, but the younger guys in the field and gals and whoever else, they would glom onto this really fast. And so we walk through the workflow of, hey, I need to kick you out of your house right now. There's a chlorine leak. And knock on the door, hey, you have to go right now. Well, in this day and age where everybody's kind of shut in, and especially in our area where there's kind of this general distrust of law enforcement banging on your doors, I see somebody that looks official, but running from house to house, I'm going to question that, even in an emergency. So, hey, by the way, how many people are in the house? Anybody have special needs? Any pets that we need to evacuate? The form kind of walks them through that. And so you can have a conversation and kind of speed it up. And so they live tested that. And then it fed in real time those numbers. And then the incident commander actually got to see that, yes, we did hit these houses as we went down the line. And that way we didn't miss anything. And the forms are pretty cool too. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but this allows anybody really that would maybe be helped with the evacuation. And I had to tell them not to what if it to death, like a pipeline explosion in Sun Prairie. Like, yeah, we're just not even going to bust the form out. It's get out now. It's going to blow. But, so they actually got a lesson in how evacuations worked, and I did all the research for that. And then the other fun thing that I've been working on is, I don't know how many people do sanitary cleaning records with their wastewater department, but we're going to GIS instead of chicken scratch to an Access database, which then gets ported into an SQL, which then gets lost somewhere, or IT forgets to migrate it. So they're really excited about the doing that in the field essentially. And the cool part that took me a while to wrap my head around was the PACP ratings, which is, I guess, a national standard for how they rate pipe maintenance and when they televise. And it gives you some of these codes right here. Like, this is the highest rated issue. There's one of them. Here's the next highest one. And then as you add things, it changes the numbers around to do calculations that apparently mean something to somebody. But they're super excited that this can be displayed, and then it shares the common tie with our televising software. So those are kind of the cool new things that I've been working on the last, couple weeks, and then amongst brush fires and things like that. But so I've learned actually a lot about calculations in Survey 123, and sometimes they're pretty muddled. And so I was thinking about actually doing another class at some point on just calculations in Survey 123, because I found some real fun things that aren't documented real well. So like if it's a relevant question, I had to then have an if statement to make it show up and do its thing, instead of just do the calculation. It shouldn't be that hard. And so it was pretty cool doing those couple projects, because we really learned a lot about those type of stuff. So
So they're like conditional questions, basically.
Yep, so
Yep,
pretty much,
that's cool.
yeah, so like jetted, like every time you click it, it adds another, or pops up those relevant questions. So
Yeah,
we didn't jet, we just flushed. Well, okay, then you don't need to answer those questions.
Mhm.
yeah,
And field maps will do some of this, but not to the extent that Survey 123 does yet.
right.
And
I
so that's
This is
where,
exactly what I'm looking for, because they don't want to answer like all, because they're jetting and they don't want, there's some questions only pertain to jetting. Some of them only pertain to vacuuming and televising, and they don't want to see all the questions at the same time. They just want to see the ones that are relevant. So this is really cool.
yeah, so I can share these again, whatever, but it, the last part, the quick maintenance rating is pain to figure out. I just could not wrap my brain around how to get the second highest score on there and not have it do some weird calculations. And so now I got that all working out. We just had another meeting yesterday, and of course it's a give a mouse a cookie situation of, yeah, now that we did that, well, now let's do this and this and that. And so it's kind of cool because we've cut down, once they implement this, it's touched one time and nobody really needs to touch it again from the field. And it should populate through to the dashboards that I'm going to create for them to show how much footage and things like that. And that'll tie into then when superintendents go and present in front of the council, well, we did, how many ever linear feet of jetting and whatever, we discovered some new flaws and things like that. So
So those calculations, are those from the PSC or is that DNR?
nope, so that's from the PACP guide. I don't have it on my head, but so the quick maintenance rating is what they typically do, is that just gives you a quick highest level issue, how many there are, and then the second one. And so in the instance of, let's say, you have a bunch of ones, but maybe 1 5, and then the rest, some other might be threes. Well, now you can start ranking them. It just kind of gives you a total of all your ratings, and then
Sure.
it's on a scale of 1 to 5, I think I don't know what the pipe maintenance rating is, but it all gets divvied out and it gives you that number then.
So I guess what I'm asking is that who uses that pipe rating? I mean, is it like just your staff that uses it, or like does the PSC, like, do they look at that rating and say, you have X percentage of your sanitary mains are rated 3 or above? I mean, are they using that calculation? Are they looking at that to help them decide what you guys are compliant in?
Nope, it's just done internal. And
Okay.
really that came from when we moved to WinCan as our televising software. They do everything in that form, that standardized format. And
Sure.
we made the shift to do it in that format because I guess it's a pretty standard international thing. And so what we were finding is our rating system might have been different than a consultant who then uses that standard format to
Mhm.
jump communities. So now we're all talking the same language, whether it's jetting and maintenance versus televising. So all the numbers are the same.
Okay.
And so then our engineers and our public works and wastewater and whoever else can sit down and just have another meeting or another layer or level of, well, here's all of our massive issues in our pipes. Like
Mhm.
we keep having gravel here. Well, why is it? Well, there's a giant chunk missing.
Right.
So you can do follow-ups on that and figure out more investigative tools. And the goal is to do away with our problem children that have blowback.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're not going to catch it all, but they know then they're problem children because everything gets a date stuck out to the next cleaning
Mhm.
up here in frequency. And so it's so basically in one form, I took away their entire access database for that particular thing. So,
Yeah, because you know, at the end of the year, we calculate out, you know, how much HDPE pipe we have, how much of that we've televised, and, you know, all of our, like you said, your blowback areas, like those, we were just using like, you know, the parcels, and where all the televising issues are, but we aren't really rating them at all. It's like they're just kind of looking at like where all the problem areas are and like how old the pipe is. So we don't have, it's not as in depth of, you know, like what types of problems they are. But this would really help our, you know, our engineering department decide, you know, where to do utility capital improvement projects, you know, more effectively place their money in certain areas. Right now, they're just kind of like, okay, this area, it's got a lot of problems, not really like what those problems are. So you can't really predict, okay, well, will this happen again in the same area? Is it the pipe, or is it, you know, what is it really? So that's pretty cool. Thank you for sharing.
yeah,
Yeah, those are great.
And I don't even want to tell you about our EOC drill. Like
Now
I
you
saw, I saw your dashboard and I was like, oh my God, it's just freaking embarrassing. I can't even, that's amazing. Like, I feel like I should shut my office door before I even say anything.
well, I figured out some, and I actually, because this is now year number 3 I've been building on, started out just the common operating picture, and then I'm like, well, nobody really needs that. And then here's just a quick dashboard of everything. And I found some, I actually pass along feedback every time we do one. You can come on in. And I send the feedback to actually Esri, their public safety guys, and say, hey, these are some issues I have with the widgets and the layers and how it produces the results, because the those boundaries and stuff like that,
Mhm.
they immediately get set to editable and not public right away. And so you actually have to go in, and it's really dumb. And you gotta, so like there's this little, it's approved for public data collection. Well, you're not actually collecting it anymore. You've done it.
Yeah.
So you got to go into the layer itself and go into
Oh,
the settings.
and not enable editing.
Yeah, and then you got to go and check this little box, and then it's going to give you a lot of warnings. Well, as people are going, hey, I want to see this right away, and you're like, oh, well,
1 minute.
hold on a second, and then, okay, well, why isn't it showing up? Well, refresh your browser. So, and then we found out that there's like our IT policy of updating browsers is really silly. So it reveals a lot of issues, but they actually did base some decisions off of this, even in a 2-hour time frame. Of, oh, hey, we got evacuees going, and how many total animals, you know, hey, let's actually call in maps or our maps, our commercial area pet shelter, and hey, we got actual evacuees. So we have a school or a daycare that's right on the boundary of the plumage. Well, now you got to call parents and you got to tell them they're over here at the high school instead of just, well, they're 19, 20-year-old people, they'll be fine. All right. So Yeah, so that's really came in handy, and our PIO used it for that type of thing. So
We have another one coming up, and you should send me your link so I can just show them like how out of touch they are.
yeah, if you want, I mean, I can even Zoom meeting with them. I've done that
Heck
before.
yeah.
Because that would be, I think, more beneficial than the showing, because this is stuff that I've worked really hard to convince the powers that be, and it's taken 2 chiefs to do it and several managerial shifts. But I'm actually going to be training everybody in June on this stuff. So
That's really awesome.
yeah,
We have an EOC room that has some TV monitors in it and some desks and some landline phones that I don't think are hooked up. And there's like some binders, I think, that has some EOC stuff in it.
There's always binders.
There's always binders. And then I don't think anyone knows how to like do the stuff that's in the binders. So they just like, okay, we're gonna do a drill, and they just kind of hang out in the EOC room and argue and then leave. I mean, like, I don't really think it's it's just not good.
well, they
You
he
need
was said, or the guy that kind of runs everything, John. He's like, yeah, so we're going door to door. Do you want to take paper out into the field? I'm like, God, no, you're going to lose that. And why would you even care? Now you're carrying around a ream of paper trying to evacuate? Come on. And all the young firefighters are like, no, we just have their work phones. We're good. Here's the app. And I told them, I was like, oh, you're walking up to a residential. Oh, I'm walking up to, this place right here. Doesn't even have to be completely close. Hey, I knocked on the door. How many occupants you got? 3. Cool. Anybody? Yes. Well, we didn't quite get there, but we have a mobility pet. Well, we have pets. What type of pets? Oh, we got a cat. Here's 3 cats because we're that way. And then hit go. And a minute or 2 later, the dashboard will switch up and calculate those new numbers for you. And it works.
Mhm.
And so I kind of threw that together on a Friday afternoon for a Tuesday thing. And they didn't even know that you can do this.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's really handy. So these are the type of things that I like to do and that I think we can explore further, because dashboards are endless, and Survey 123 is, I find that to be more useful than Collector.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and see everything just flipped and recalculated all the totals there.
Mhm.
So, which is something you don't normally think of doing, is setting the refresh intervals, because it's not as straightforward as you would think. So I give you, Ezra, an earful after every EOC event. Go and they're like, well, why would you want to do that? Why would I not want to do that is the question you should be asking. So anyway,
Thanks for sharing.
so anybody else got anything? What are you doing there, Lisa or Andrea?
Oh, I'm just sitting here listening to what you guys have been up to.
You have anything going on there, Lisa?
No,
No. Where are you out of again?
I'm in Eau Claire, but I'm with the DOT, so
Okay.
I can't speak for what we may or may not be doing or may not be caring about at this point.
I have to do my pacer this year because it is my job. I don't know how. It is my job because I am not an engineer, but I got trained from Whistler. So I need to go around and I have to have one of the public works streets persons drive Miss Daisy around and rate all of the roads 1 to 10 pavement. And of course, I'm doing that with GIS because it's a lot faster. And I heard that the DOT was going to be moving to Esri, but I don't know, maybe that's just a rumor. But is that true, Lisa?
Moving what to Esri?
Your line data.
It's possible.
Would make my life easier.
I'm not. I mean, the biggest problem is I'm not a GIS person, so when they talk to me about things that they're doing, I don't always understand them. But I think you're sort of on the right track. At least some of it. So we're working. I work out of our methods development unit, and so we take care of all of the standardization and development of the design softwares and teaching and maintaining that. And so we're working on integration with the Esri platform through our Autodesk products. So I've for a long time been sort of nudging them into this, idea that sooner or later your design engineers are going to be able to access your information directly. And so you need to plan for that because it's not going to be pretty if you don't plan for that. And so I think they finally have now understood that. So my next year's position goals are sort of to become better at GIS. So I can be that sort of intermediary to help our GIS folks understand what our design folks need and hopefully help our design folks learn how to use the information that's available. So
Cool.
Hence the reason I hang around with y'all.
Yeah, I had gotten my Whistler packet, and if for those of you, do counties deal with Whistler? Okay.
Oh, it's always been something I hear about, and I've never actually seen it or
okay.
dealt with it or.
Yeah, so it's like
Tell me all about it.
It's Wisconsin local roads
Yep.
survey or whatever. It's something like that. But you get these little booklets that tell you like how to rate a gravel road, a paved road, asphalt and concrete, and there's special names for all the different types of cracking. There's like alligator cracking.
My favorite alligator cracking.
Yep. And so, if it's got, 70% alligator cracking, then, it's going to be a 3. So you go to this class, and I went to my class in Mineral Point. And it's most of the people that are doing the survey are like township elected officials. And in a room full of 40 people that went to this class, I think I was the only GIS person. And they were telling all these people like, okay, well, this is the last year, and this was 2 years ago, this is the last year that you are allowed to send in your packet by hand, because it was like a spreadsheet, of tables. And so for each segment, it would say, from Main Street to First Street, at intersection, whatever. And then you'd write it in and mail it to the DOT. So here I am, like, it was like, I think it was like 6 months into my first municipal job, and I like raised my hand. I'm like, can I just get your line data? Can you just send it to me? Because I'm already thinking like, okay, well, I'm just gonna click on it and then just type it in. I'm not gonna deal with this tape. I'm like, no, we're actually moving to that. I'm like, great. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what are you talking about? What is GIS? And the DOT was like, no, great, this is what we want to do. And all the like township people are like, oh no, like, we don't want it. What technology? No. Oh, it was funny. And then I got yes, here it is. This is good.
Rate those roads.
Okay, let me see here. Oh, you see you got those divots on the side there collecting water? Like, it's not good. I would probably give that one a 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're rutting.
Yeah. Oh, that's real bad running. That's probably a 2 or a 3.
Mhm.
The
Yep.
alligator cart, yeah.
We have engineers do this stuff that Caitlin got to take a class on and now gets to go rate your city roads. I got to learn.
And like once you learn it, you can't unlearn it. So then you go on like every road and you're like, it's a 2. This is a 2. I would give this a 2. And like, what are they doing with their money?
I get so mad. Like I walk my townships around there and I just did my votes, like my local votes for my township. Everybody cut taxes. The next person, what are we going to do? We're going to cut taxes. Like, what do we want to do? We want to support emergency services. She's like a captain for the local fire department. I'm like, all right, I'm going to vote for her. She still wants to cut taxes. And all of them think their roads are great. I'm like, they've all failing. They all got ruts and alligator cracking. And
Yeah.
God, they make me mad.
So what we do then with our Whistler data is it's integrated into our data, and then our engineer then takes the ratings that I give them and the age of the road and etc. And then we base all of our repaving and chip sealing and crack filling based on those ratings. And it's a pretty good system because what I learned, and this is something that I think is a really good thing to know, is that, even if you just completely reconstruct a road, if you don't like chip seal like in 2 years, like it just the life of the road, and so people are always asking like, well, you guys just redid this road, why are you chip sealing? It makes it last a lot longer if you do it right away. And so the Whistler data is really an integral part in the life of our roads. And so I hope that the forced hand to make everything digital will help some other municipalities and stuff, start using that data, not just like sending it in for compliancy, but actually using it for themselves. So
We use it, and I currently just get the line work straight from the DOT.
yeah.
I know Brookfield or whatever has something to send it back to the DOT in that format. However, because the way I interpret how that data actually works is it's all linear referenced somehow.
Yeah.
It doesn't play well, so you might I don't know.
Well, and all the
literally just
fields
like-
are cryptic codes.
Oh yeah, they're crazy. I have them all, and took me a day to just type in what they are, and referencing a couple.
Oh, you have aliases?
I have aliases for everything I got. So, it's, I don't know. To me, there has to be an easier way of even just submitting what your roads are, especially since 99% of the fields nobody cares about.
Yes.
It's, and the way I understand what it is nobody does anything with it except for locals. It's more of a force you to look at your roads. So it doesn't actually impact anything at the state level, but we're forced to do it by that. That's the way
Well,
it's been
our
explained to me.
engineer says that it's depending on like, so how many, if you have like X amount of roads that are under a 5 or whatever, like you are supposed to be able to get more help state funding.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard in theory, that's how it works, but not, I think, in actual practice.
I think we got some help with one of our main, I think they're really, I think they're kind of picky with it, but I think we did get some funding, but I think it was because it was also like part of a truck route. So, if it supports like a lot of transportation and logistics, I think they're more willing to help you with that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it is kind of hard to get that money.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's good.
So I actually just get it from the DOT right away, and then you can click on it, but then
Jeez.
some of the stuff, and then like it's in there, but nobody tracks it very well. So like curbs, sidewalk. So it's like, okay, and then you get all this other stuff that doesn't matter in
Yeah, that's really
reality of things.
detailed.
They just,
It's really detailed. I had no idea.
yeah, and really all people care is, hey, what's your lane miles, I guess, and then
Mhm.
what's the rating?
Yeah.
So those are like the one thing that is just literally what is its ranking, and I could do that locally. Like, why am I submitting it up? And then our street guys go through every 2 years and do it. And I mean, you can literally do that locally on collector and just flip a switch like, hey, we just did this one and we're good.
Mhm.
I mean, and just follow the manual.
Hmm.
So that's my beef with Whistler is we have to submit it. And it doesn't need to be really submitted if it doesn't actually impact funding. Or if it does impact funding, then it needs to be stressed that you will get funding. Because we're under the impression that nobody uses it
Hmm.
but us.
Interesting. How do they get new roads put in there?
You submit them, there's like the whole portal.
Oh, okay. So
There's a whole portal and yeah.
Okay. Huh.
So they do it through a portal and every 2 years they go through and add little segments or whatever they did. And to me, it seems very inefficient if it's meant to kind of keep you at task of maintaining your roads and giving you something to work with. And if it's supposed to dole out state funding, then maybe we lobby the state to actually make that apparent or known that you can do that or something, because we just kind of go through the motions over here and do our own planning based on it. But so, I mean, there's tons of stuff that you don't need in an advanced system if all you're really doing is rating a road.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting. Huh.
and the confusing part that throws people is it's both directions. It's lanes in each direction. It's not just a segment of road. So now you have double the line work on the SAM thing. And then people are like, well, why does this one say it's red and this one is blue? One lane got done and the other one didn't, or whatever. So,
Mhm.
and then how do you choose what the rating of that actual road is for your decision making is now you got to look at both segments.
Mhm.
So I would rather just have a field for which direction it is and what is its rating. That would be easier for me.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
anyway, it's pretty substantial.
Yeah, I went through and did a deep dive into what they had for Onalaska's line work versus what we had for our street center lines, and there was quite a few discrepancies, and it took a lot of digging with like the register of deeds and the county, like, okay, because we had to like prove, okay, we annexed this in and here's the plat and all that stuff, and I'm like, I've never checked this before. But you know how you just go into those investigative rabbit holes where like you see like one little piece of data wrong, you're like, oh no, there's gonna be so much.
Yeah.
But
Well, one of the fields in there is your shoulder width. Well, that has never been maintained in Marshfield. And so the police department was doing a review of, can we do one way, like parking one side type thing to improve traffic flow and things like that. And I had to drive the entire city to do that and go, that is not a 1 foot shoulder. That's a 6 foot shoulder, or that's a marked as 6 foot shoulder and it's not even 6 inches. So
Oh, you just like now I'm gonna feel like I'm gonna have to go do that now.
I mean, once
For Galen.
I think I think if you do like a baseline and then you give them some way to track that, I think would be, I have a bunch of new assistant managers or street superintendents that are pretty tech savvy.
Mhm.
And so if I can give them a line work, they can edit those things, and then I can remind them that when they go put it in, log it in the system to update those fields. And then it'll come back to me whenever the DOT signs off on it, and then gives it back to me every June or whatever, whenever the cycle is, every 2 years.
Mhm.
Because I mean, that's like super handy. That's something that they're doing already. Why don't you just update these extra 3 fields and then everybody's happy?
Mhm.
But that goes back into that entry method into Whistler is
Yes,
clunky
it's
and outdated.
so clunky.
Well, and from a county perspective, it's a little frustrating because like I already maintain who has what street segment in their municipal boundary when they annex things. Like I'm already doing that. Why is someone else doing it? You know, like
Exactly.
gotta be a better way to get that.
I know when I first got it, I was like, but wait, isn't the county doing my street center lines?
Probably.
Oh no, I bet it's also not gonna match with mine and the DOT.
Yep.
Well, the line work that the DOT supplies is
Garbage.
questionable.
Lisa
Questionable.
goes,
I was going to be
Garbage.
nice, but it's, why is it going through my houses?
Yeah.
Because I mean, literally, the reason that that stuff is so bad is that someone sat down with a map on the screen and drew a line, and they
Well,
were
then-
at such a high,
Yeah.
I was just like,
Can we,
Yeah.
as a going forward building this, my suggestion is if the counties are already maintaining it for their emergency services, can we just ship you the line work and create a statewide data set like we do the parcels?
hallelujah.
And then,
that's I keep pushing the buttons. I keep
Ooh, I
reminding
gotta
them that there's
push.
an easier way. And so, I mean, I don't really know, but our GIS core team has gotten much more interested recently in
Yeah.
how this information is gathered, how it's portrayed, and who is doing it. And we are loosening the reins. Let me say, I been with the DOT for almost 32 years, and I can see in the last 3 years the relaxation of this little, like, this is our data and we can't let anybody else touch it, and we don't know what other people are doing, and we don't want to use their stuff because it might be crap. And I think we're really finding out that a lot of our stuff is crap, and it would be really a lot easier if we just took
Well, we've been
somebody who knew what they were doing and took their stuff and used it. So I think we're getting there, late in my estimation, but quickly as far as the DOT works. So I would hope that would be, one of the things that will be, high on the list, because centerline information is that kind of stuff that everything else is based off of. So would be really nice to just be able to have that out there to just grab and know that you've got good stuff. So
I'll gladly help orchestrate something. Because we want it, we use it, it's already known, but it's like, well, can we streamline this? Can we just submit it somehow or other through a web map or push you up a giant file and then just delete and put in there? And then if it needs to be networked, yeah, you gotta do your little shifts or whatever, or make sure it's in this projection. And that's all stuff that WIA has kind of done before with parcels and other initiatives. So it's, whatever.
Yeah, and we, you know, and we've got the parcel, we've got the statewide parcel map or whatever they call it. But yeah, I mean, you know, we have kind of gone there with parcels already. So fingers crossed.
If NG 911 moves
Federal
forward with the
lives.
street
Yeah,
center,
I was
leads,
just gonna
that'll
say
be
that.
the
I've definitely seen some DOT people in those work groups and those webinars and stuff. So someone's watching for sure.
well, they're recording this, Kim. So yeah.
Well, folks.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah, true. I think someone wants dinner somewhere around here.
My kids are probably riding, and then my wife feels, because the youngest is still nursing, so she gets pinned down.
Yeah.
And then the eldest wants something, and then my eldest gets creative in how she deals with her. Because she manipulates her environment really well. Like, I know I'm not tall enough, so here's I truck a tray across the room, and then you hear bang, crunch. Well, it was just an accident. It's okay to do that, right? I guess accidents happen. It's okay. It's inconvenient, but it happens. So, well, I think this was good. We'll have to do this again. We'll definitely do it in June. And so on my to-do list is to orchestrate more of these things on more of a monthly basis, maybe lunchtime or whatever.
Yeah, be good.
So yeah, it's always, even if anybody's welcome to give suggestions on what we do, because I'll run it down. It may not be, tomorrow, but I'll run it down though. And because I see a lot of benefit in what we do and what we're doing, and we may think differently about a problem or run into the same problem and nobody talks. So, all right. Well, everybody
Thanks,
have a good
guys.
night.
Have a good evening.
Nice to see you all.
Thanks. See you guys.
Bye.
there.
Bye.
Bye.